Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel again, and today we are on the episode 3 of our series titled Let's Talk About Linux. Thank you for coming back to check on the third post, and if you're watching the third one, we are on our way to actually getting acquainted to, the basic knowledge you need to know about Linux, and let's continue with the fun. So what is the title of today's post, the title of today's video? I actually planned by now. I thought we would already be in the practical part and all that, learning a lot of hands-on skill and all that, but I thought it would be nice for me to take out time to actually make something that is pretty much important before you actually get your hands dirty, and that is choosing a Linux distro. Now, why is this important? Like every other thing, like learning programming, learning SQL or database management and all of that, it is important for you to actually, first of all, decide which of them you want to go for. So in the case of programming, you want to choose, is it JavaScript, Golang, Python, which one is it you want to learn, depending on which suits or matches what you need it for. So in this case, it's pretty much the same thing. So I'll start by defining or explaining what a distro is. Now, it is called distro for short, but in fact, distro stands for distribution. So when you hear people say Linux distro, what they mean is a Linux distribution. And what is a distribution in itself? A Linux distribution is simply a set of programs or softwares packed together, pre-configured and pre-bundled. Now, why is this essential? You want to be able to get that particular OS, slap it on your machine, and you have almost all the software and packages you need packed together for the job you need. And then you can, configure and add more as the case may be. Now, at the base level, regardless of what distribution you choose, at the base level, pretty much everything is the same in that there is the Linux kernel, there is the default GNU software, and most of the packages and tools like text editors and all that are by default the same. So you're going to have stuff like VI or Vim existing on all of them. And even if it doesn't, it's something you can easily add. So that's on the similarity part. Now, what is usually different that might require you to choose a specific one? Now, the first one and the most important is the cost. Most Linux distributions are enterprise, or either they are completely meant for enterprise solutions, or they offer a commercial license that you can actually use if you want to use it commercially. So if you're trying to use this on the side, as whether it is for side hobby or to gain a skill that you need to get a promotion or start a particular job, you'll want to be aware of this, especially if you don't have money to pay for it. So some of them, like Red Hat, Enterprise Linux, I think Arch Linux or Fedora even, have commercial licenses. In fact, up until recently, you couldn't even use Red Hat Linux, which is the reason why many people used CentOS to learn Linux if they intended to work with Red Hat professionally. Now, moving on, what else could be different amongst all of them? Another thing is the package manager. Now, when you want to download a certain software or application that is not available on your distribution, you would have to use something called a package manager. Now, for some Linux distribution, I think Ubuntu uses something called apt-get. I think CentOS and Red Hat Enterprise Linux uses something called Yum, if I'm not mistaken. At the base level, they are not far too much from each other. The difference is actually not that noticeable because they have just one job, which is help you download your package or manage the ones you already have in your system. Now, moving on, what else could be different amongst all of this? Another thing that could be different is the graphical user interface applications that you have on the system. So if you're someone who wants to use it to play video games or use some office applications like something similar to Microsoft Word or some design tool like an alternative version of Photoshop or something like that that works on Linux, you might have to check this first, since different versions of Linux have different types of applications that can work on them. So that also being said, what else could be a difference? Another thing is the duration and how difficult it is for you to actually learn how to use that particular distribution. So a distro like Arch Linux is not a perfect way to go, especially if you're just starting. And why is this the case? The reason is solely because Arch Linux is really complicated, and it is meant to be so because it is meant to actually solve enterprise-based complicated or complex solutions. So when you're starting out, you want to start with something like CentOS or Ubuntu because these ones are easy to start out with. And the last thing is availability of resources and availability of like stable updates. Now you want a distribution that rolls out updates, maybe not too much because this might become a problem when you start working with them, but at least you want a distribution that the company in charge keeps track of the system, the faults, the security vulnerabilities and all that, and pushes out updates once in a while to fix those issues, as well as the community that supports that being strong. So that being said, to summarize everything I'm trying to say in this particular video, you want to first of all decide, you need to obviously know why is it you're learning Linux. I already talked about the questions you need to ask yourself and why it is important for you to learn Linux in my previous videos. You can click on the card right here. So when you've decided what that is, whether it is for programming, systems administration and all that, it would be beneficial for you to check what the industry uses. In most cases, it will be either Ubuntu, CentOS, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux. So once you've checked this out and you've seen which one it is, then you can ask yourself these questions like cost, ease of learning, and all of that to be able to decide wisely. That being said, that's where we end it today, guys. Thank you for watching this video. I know it was a really fast one, and I can't wait to see you guys on the next episode. Bye.